For sustainability leaders, fragmented and complex water data makes mitigation slow, difficult, and resource-intensive. This is where AI comes in, transforming the way organizations measure, respond to, and report water risk. For the first time, companies can see the full picture end-to-end and act at the speed the world demands. With AI, high-quality local data is centralized, validated, and standardized across operations and supply chains. From risk assessments and ongoing monitoring, to scenario modeling that identifies the right mitigation initiatives, AI turns complexity into clarity, enabling faster, smarter decisions. It also facilitates tracking and reporting progress against efficiency and restoration targets, turning what once took weeks or months into minutes. AI is redefining water stewardship. Join Waterplan and global leaders as we scale impact and accelerate the transition to a water-secure future for businesses, for communities, and for our planet.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session at World Water Week, which is called AI-Driven Water Risk Management, Scaling Impact for Corporates. My name is Luisina Buso, and I'm the Chief of Staff for Sustainability at Waterplan, and I'm delighted to be here today with my colleague, Kathleen McAllister, Senior Water Advisor at Waterplan, and an amazing panel of sustainability leaders that we will be introducing in a second. For the ones who don't know, Waterplan is an AI-powered platform to measure, respond to, and report water risk. Today, we will be guiding you through how artificial intelligence and digital innovation are reshaping water stewardship. As many of you know, water is one of the top risks to business continuity and growth. And for global corporations, this is much more than just water efficiency or restoration work. This is about resilience, credibility, and achieving impact at scale. And here AI plays a key role because it can enable companies to understand water risks in real time, to identify what's working, what isn't, and to continue investing where it really matters the most. Today, we're honored to be here with a panel of sustainability leaders from global corporations. And these are leaders that don't just talk about digital transformation, they are actually delivering it. And it's very interesting because they all use technology a little bit differently when it comes to water stewardship, and you are gonna hear from their experiences and their insights, and hopefully you can take home something that adds value to you, that is actionable, and that can help you continue enhancing your own water programs. So Kath, if you can join me.
Yeah, I think everybody can come up.
Yeah, you can come.
Hey, everybody. Is this on? There we go. Hi, everyone. As Luisi mentioned, I'm Kathleen. I'm a Senior Water Advisor at Waterplan. I'm joined by my colleagues here today, Shannon from Procter & Gamble, Marlise from Amazon, Haru from Suntory Holdings, and Andre from ABI. I will let them introduce themselves in a moment. I don't know if everybody had a chance to watch the video that we just saw. We can play it again if not. But, you know, I think the reason that we're all here today in this session and at this conference is that we're all facing a global challenge, a global water challenge, and thinking about solutions to address that challenge. And it's something that we're going to talk about, you know, as Luis mentioned, how folks are doing it on the ground, how they're tracking that and reporting on that with transparency and credibility. So I'm excited to see so many familiar faces and new ones. So one thing is that we have a Slido here. So if you have your smartphones and you're able to use that, that'll be a great way to ask questions. So now we can let the panelists introduce themselves. Andre, do you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Andre. I'm VP Sustainability at AB InBev, and clearly as a global brewing company, water is critical for us in terms of the future of our company and our supply chain.
Hi, everyone. I'm Harmis Seta from Suntory Holdings, and Suntory has a very unique portfolio of businesses, spirits, beer, wine, and beer, soft drinks, and health food, and we can use any the water, and our business depends on the water. So today's session is very important for us here. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Marlise McKeelson from Amazon. To set the stage a little, Amazon uses water across all of our businesses and operations and our supply chains, and we have 2 public water commitments. One is a water positive goal for our AWS data center business. That's a 2030 commitment to return more water to communities and the environment than we use in those data centers. And as of last year, we are 53% towards achieving that goal. And then more recently, we took an accelerated 2027 goal for all of our India businesses, so not just our data centers, but also direct water use from our fulfillment centers and from our offices and from our grocery businesses. So we're really excited about that.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. First panel, first session of the conference. I'm Shannon Quinn, I'm with Procter & Gamble. We make consumer products like Pantene hair shampoo, as well as dishwashing, oral care products all over the world. Water is essential to our business. We need it not only to make our products, but to use most of our products in people's homes. And I'm helping to lead the water stewardship program and our Water Positive Future strategy, where we're focusing on restoring water in water-stressed areas, reducing water in operations, as well as responding to water challenges through innovation and partnerships. Happy to be here today.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here. And as Shannon mentioned, it's the first panel, so thank you all for being here at 9 a.m. on a Sunday. We have a lot of interesting questions today and a great set of topics to discuss with our panel. So maybe we can begin with a big picture. I would love for all of you to share with the audience, what do you see as the most urgent challenge today in corporate water risk management? And where do you see AI making the most impact, maybe today or also in the future? So maybe, Andrea, we can start with you.
So, as I said, for a brewing company, water risk understanding it is critical. It's something we've been working on for the last 10 years. And moving on towards impact in the high-risk areas, I would say the biggest challenge for us looking forward is how do we measure that impact? How do we demonstrate the impact in a way that's cost-effective, that's verifiable and trusted by others? And technology is certainly one of the ways, and helping us, and AI particularly. So to go directly to an example, in Brazil, we work with a company called Spectral to help us quantify the measurable impact that we've committed to. So by using satellite and drone technology particularly, but also other data inputs, helping us measure and demonstrate the impact. So to get practical, so we're able to show that the channels in which the water flow in the areas where we're doing green infrastructure have broadened over time. So anyone who's worked on a project would know that that is so exciting, and it tends to be anecdotal to say, I can see the impact, but now being able to prove it, to be able to demonstrate the impact on the riparian zones that you can physically see it and measure it. So this is just the beginning, but for us, demonstrating the impact and using technology for it is a very exciting part of that.
Perfect. Kat, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I think that a lot of folks in the room will agree that we're very excited about the advancements in AI and technology. And I think where I see the most exciting advancements, or I'm most excited about, is using that technology to, in a faster way, be able to identify local challenges and then validate that with folks on the ground. The enablement of kind of helping folks and partnering with everyone together, but having that AI-driven and data-driven base to start with is something that I'm really excited about, because I think it just enables faster movement to impact, and I think it helps kind of foster that collaboration. So for me, that's what I get most excited about when we're talking about AI and technology and getting everybody, for me, it's getting everybody together and kind of having that base to be on the same page.
Okay, for Suntory, the actual water risk mitigation is very important for business because now, yeah, as Andre said, that we are focusing on, we are facing on the kinds of climate change risks, and also in Japan, there are the kinds of the flood, and also the infrastructures, the maintenance the risk. So we have to set the actual effectiveness of the watershed in each local. So I think that AI has a potential to the kind of collective annual data from the local, and also that integrated the kinds of the data, the meaning, and also provide the interpret for the planning and for our business cases. So yes, it's a good technology for our business, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with that. I think just the unprecedented volatility around the water risk landscape is such a big challenge for us. It's evolving so quickly. Like areas that we previously thought of as water secure are now facing extreme flooding or drought or water quality crises. So that's a big challenge for companies who have such global operations and global supply chains. But it's also where I'm hoping that AI will be really transformative. Just being able to analyze large, complex data sets from diverse sources and integrating more real-time data, I think will be really transformative and help us move to more proactive risk management rather than reactive practices.
Yeah, I mean, I guess similar to Kathleen, I think one of the biggest challenges for risk mitigation, water risk mitigation, is being able to identify the water challenges for each unique location. So they're all so different, and even in the same country, there could be a lot of differences, and identifying those differences and documenting them and then being able to analyze them and create actions out of them, I think is really complex and can take time. So technology and data, I think, are already helping us move faster towards understanding those challenges so we can make sure that we support the right types of activities that are actually going to make a difference on the ground.
Well, thank you. Now I have a question for Andrea and for Shannon. So we see that many companies struggle, with internal data, with internal silos. Everything usually is scattered, or there are different ways of measuring things or talking about things. Also, water data is usually, fragmented, and you find it in very different formats and so on. So my question for you is, how has technology helped you centralize water data and have, a single source of truth that you can trust and you can use for engaging with the stakeholders, for decision making, and so on? And what has been the most transformative change that you have seen in your teams in how they use it? So maybe, Andrea, we can start with you.
Sure. So we engaged with Waterplan through our 100+ accelerator, which we partner with Coca-Cola, Unilever, and others to find solutions to accelerate sustainability going forward. And our key purpose was the opposite, which was to modernize our water risk toolkit, which has existed for a long time, but it was an old Excel, etc. So we wanted to modernize it and get dynamic local data, which I know we're going to talk about a bit later, into the system. So that was our purpose in terms of getting additional information locally into the system. The centralization came as a by benefit over time. And I never anticipated that because we have more than 200 sites in which we manage water risk, and you can imagine 200 Excel data pieces all over the world, and if you know my management and admin capabilities, you'd understand that always when you look for a file, that's the one that you don't have. Or when the auditor asks to demonstrate to me that you've done the water risk in Lusaka in Zambia, that's the file that's not here and the local manager has left. So it exists somewhere in the business. I just don't have it at my fingertips. So to me and to the business, one of the biggest benefits is having all the data systematic, in the same format, the same place, not on someone's laptop, but living in the data systems inside the company. So that has been, I know it sounds very practical, but that has been transformative in the way If our assurance provider asks for any evidence, just say, go on the system and find it. It's right there. So that has been an enormous benefit for us.
Well, that's amazing. Thanks, Andre.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in my introduction, for P&G, water is essential. We need it to make our products, and most of our consumers need it to use our products. Because of that, we've had a water strategy over the years, and in 2022, we launched our Water Positive Future Strategy. And as part of that, a goal to restore more water than we consume during manufacturing in 18 water-stressed areas, as well as the water that's consumed during the use of our products in Mexico City and Los Angeles. And so with that comes the support of on-the-ground partners who are executing water restoration projects that help to either improve, better manage, or protect freshwater resources. And so as we were designing that program, we kind of saw already that as we supported more and more of these on-the-ground projects, that would also come with a lot of data, a lot of information in different forms, and we needed a better way to track that. I mean, similar to Andre, just having it in Excel or in different documents, it wasn't cutting it even after the first 5 or 6 that we supported. So we also partnered with Waterplan to customize their platform and start to consolidate all of that information, see what it looked like, be able to draw insights from it, and then standardize it and compile it all in one place. And that's so similar to Andre, that was transformative for us as well, just having it all in one place, look the same, even though they were very different project types and in different locations. And so it's also allowed us, all the other stakeholders to be able to access that information. So our internal stakeholders, from our legal organization to communications to the in-country basin managers, all of them can access the information even when I'm sleeping. So, going from before needing to ask and wait to request that information, they can access that, and we know that it is well-supported information, well-documented, and it's also really helping continue to increase the transparency of how we're tracking and reporting. And most importantly, I think what it's helped us to do is really make sure that the work that we're supporting, we feel confident is actually having the intended impact on the ground. So it's been a game changer.
Well, this is amazing. Thank you both for sharing. It's incredible how consolidating the information can save a lot of time and also enable, you to trust the information that you're actually seeing. Like, where it comes from, what it means, what to do with it, right? So yeah, I think this is great. Thank you. Now I want to ask a follow-up question to you, Andrea, which is, you mentioned how InBev has transitioned from maybe statics risk reports, because you had all the process, like you had the process in place, but you transitioned to having the more real-time process, right? With site-specific risk assessments done more in real time. So how has this shift reshaped how you are prioritizing sites or resource allocation for risk mitigation? And if you could share an example and lessons learned with the audience, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So sure. So moving from the static, in-depth, once-a-year view, which has really been valuable and powerful over time, to a more dynamic, real-time insight, you can imagine gives us a lot of additional insights into the sites and as things change. But I want to put a word of caution. It is really confusing if your water risk keeps changing and you keep reporting, or someone sees different numbers all the time. It takes long enough to educate everyone in decision making that we have, I'm going to take a number, 20 sites that are important, and next week is 22. You have to be really careful how you manage that. So for us, it's not about getting different insights in terms of the number of sites, but some of the insights into those sites. And it's not always the water risk that changes, but what shapes the water risk. Better understanding, and also understanding seasonal and annual changes, etc. So it gives us a lot more insight than rather changing our water risk perception. In terms of an example of real value, we also work with a startup called H2OK that helps us understand and manage our CIP inside the brewing process of cleaning in place. And by inserting a window, if you like, in the cleaning process and taking an optical spectrum view, we can look at the quality of the water as the cleaning process happens. So where in the past you would say, this part of the process you need to rinse for 2 minutes, because that's what you've learned over 50 years. Now what we do is we rinse until it's clean, okay? And mostly it's a lot less than 2 minutes, because 2 minutes obviously someone said, because that's safe. So you learn a lot about your process, and in real time, you learn, through machine learning you adapt, but also you have the insight. So it saves water, it saves energy, and it saves chemicals all at the same time.
Perfect. Now, I have a question for Marlies. To Haro this time. Yes, to Haro. So Suntory takes a localized approach to water stewardship, right? So how are you using data to understand watershed and community needs? And how do you ensure that the insights translate into locally appropriate action? And if you could also share an example, that would be great.
Okay. To accurately identify regional water issues and their causes, we utilize a range of data sources and a simulation model. In Japan, Suntory's factories, the water usage of Suntory's around 30 factories is approximately 60% water usage. It depends on the groundwater. So groundwater is very essential for our business. So maybe you know the Yamazaki is our whiskey brand, and our Yamazaki is quality depends on the groundwater quality. So unfortunately, I can solve it for you today. But so we focus on the kinds of groundwater management in each watershed historically. So from 2003, we have the natural water sanctuary initiative in Japan. And today I'd like to provide the specific example in the Kumamoto area. So the Kumamoto area of Japan is my text the Kumamoto area of Japan is an area rich in groundwater with all its 1 million residents, domestic water supply coming from groundwater. However, in recent years, the area of rice paddies and farmland, which are essential groundwater recharge areas, has been rapidly decreasing due to land development. The Institute for Water Science, which belongs to Suntory Group, collaborated with local governments to develop a groundwater simulation model that recreates past conditions that used 30 years of groundwater extraction data from specific locations. It predicted the impact of land development and climate change induced rainfall fluctuation on groundwater recharge by using this model. The results showed that if all farmland in Kumamoto area were converted to building sites, groundwater recharge could decrease by up to 50%. Local governments have already introduced regulations requiring large-scale groundwater extractors to recharge 100% of the groundwater they extract. By sharing the result, local government recognized the further need for measures to address the reduction of permeable surfaces caused by the land development. Suntory, with the support of local government, launched a new initiative called Kumamoto Water Positive Action in February this year, in collaboration with 6 organizations, including regional banks and universities, to promote the introduction of rain gardens on non-permeable areas resulting from land development. Like this, we believe that the database dialogue with stakeholders can lead to the creation of activities that address regional needs.
Thank you. Thank you, Haru. I think this is a great example of how using technology and groundwater modeling, as you mentioned, to really understand the situation and be able to engage later with the stakeholders and to also implement the project that actually drives the impact that is required, right? Now, Marlies, the question is for you this time. And it's, Amazon manages a wide range portfolio of projects, right? How are you using AI to estimate, to quantify, and validate the volumetric water benefits across diverse geographies? And what have been some of the most meaningful improvements that you have seen in how you are measuring impact?
Yeah, that's right. We have a broad range of replenishment projects in our portfolio. We've announced more than 30 projects with many more in the pipeline, so stay tuned. But there's all sorts of projects in the technology and the nature-based solution categories, and we found there's no one-size-fits-all approach to assessing or monitoring these projects. And we think those exercises are so important, especially monitoring, because it not only informs our project maintenance plans, but it also kind of serves as a feedback loop for us to figure out, okay, which of our replenishment projects are delivering the most durable benefits year over year? As we're looking into new geographies, what are the types of projects that we should continue supporting? So that's been really helpful. I'm really excited about AI for project assessment and monitoring. We're already doing a lot of great work with Waterplan on that, specifically on project performance monitoring, using satellite imagery or using local precipitation data. Those have been really beneficial exercises, and if you're curious to learn more, we actually published a white paper with Waterplan on this topic last year. You can find it on our Amazon Sustainability Exchange, which is a resource that we launched to kind of accelerate collective progress on different sustainability impact areas. So we have a water playbook, but we also have playbooks for other impact areas as well. And then I guess to get to AI specifically, I think there's a lot more that we can do and explore here, but there's one cool example I can already share, and again, all the credit goes to the Waterplan team for this one, but a few of our projects require using the curve number method, which if you're not familiar, it's a calculation method that you can use to calculate surface runoff. And here, Waterplan is using ML algorithms on satellite imagery to really identify kind of pixel by pixel or polygon by polygon, okay, what is the land cover type? What is the soil type, and then layering on top of that slope information or rainfall information and getting us really accurate, or we think more accurate information on baseline project conditions and then post-intervention conditions as well. And overall, I think this can be transformative, or using more AI for these types of assessments can be transformative because we can get more accurate, but we can also move faster. And for all of us up here, we're always assessing lots of new potential projects. We want to move beyond that assessment phase and into the actual implementation phase as quickly as possible to drive that real-world change.
Thank you. I think that this was an amazing example and a great explanation of how AI is used specifically for project impact monitoring or estimation. I really like your idea of the feedback loop, right? Like being able to actually, okay, maybe you start implementing a project, being able to actually estimate the impact that it's having, and if it's not having the right impact, or if it is, like make a decision on whether to continue to make something different, and so on. So thank you. Now a question to Marlies and Haru. You're each working in very different geographies, right, and contexts as well. Yet you are both scaling water stewardship efforts globally. So how are you striking the right balance between having a centralized corporate strategy and at the same time incorporating the local realities on the ground? And what role do you see data and digital tools play in supporting this engagement?
Yeah, I think that, yes, the local situation and the local issues, the understanding is very important to set the kind of each local watershed, the water strategies, water stewardship initiative. So, but in some cases, to the kind of gather the local, the hydrological data is very important for us. So it's depending on the countries and it depends on the region. So, and also the depending on the kind of techniques for the kind of dependent people's the capabilities. So that AI can touch the kinds of any of the data from the document and then the papers and so on. So, and now we are using the Waterplan services to expand the kind of the watershed initiatives globally. It's a very powerful tool to gather the kind of annual information of the local risks and the actual situation. And also, they provide the information of the NGOs, the partnerships, potential partnerships information. So it's also the very powerful the kinds of services, I think.
Yeah, I can share a few examples here. So we have some core water stewardship strategies, but they all need to really be calibrated to local realities. So first, on the AWS data center side of our business, one of our strategies is around sustainable sourcing of water. So rather than using that high quality potable water, we look to see if there's alternative sources of water that we can use for cooling, be that treated recycled wastewater or rainwater harvesting. So we can use data and digital tools to maybe get kind of a high level assessment of, okay, where is recycled water available in the US, for example, but then it's really about those like on the ground conversations with the utility to figure out, okay, what are the exact boundaries of your recycled water network? Oh, looks like our data center site is actually a kilometer away from the end of that network. How can we work with the utility to fund an expansion of that, for example? Next, we have our beneficial reuse strategy, which is all about like reusing the discharged non-contact cooling water from our data centers. There, we're hoping to return that water for community purposes, reuse purposes like irrigating public parks or irrigating farmland. And there again, it's kind of about the local realities, very similar story. I can share in Oregon, for example, our data centers there were conveniently located right next to an irrigation canal, so that strategy worked out nicely. We could send the discharge right into that irrigation canal. And then finally, for replenishment, we always start with that desktop research and gathering insights and data from the Waterplan platform to kind of understand, okay, what are the main water challenges that this area or community is facing? Which exact hydro basin do we want to work in? Who are potential partners we should work with? What are potential project types? But then it's about those conversations like with the NGOs, with policymakers, with utilities, with startups to figure out, okay, which interventions are really going to resonate the most.
Thank you. Now, Shannon, this question's for you. Traceability and transparency are key to restoration credibility, right? So you mentioned some product customization. I'm very curious for you to share what systems has Procter & Gamble put in place to ensure accurate tracking, validation, and reporting of restoration outcomes? And how do you see this technology enabling you to scale and standardize the process across all of the regions where the company operates?
Yeah, so as I had mentioned, our Water Positive Future strategy includes restoring water in 18 water-stressed areas, and in order to do that, we're supporting these water restoration projects. Lots of different information and data, but the final result that we communicate publicly and tracking in order to report on the progress of the goals that we've set is the volumetric water benefit associated with those projects. And so there's a lot of information that goes into supporting that final number that comes out in order for us to know if we're truly making progress against the target that we've set. So it was really interesting because in the very beginning, when you see a project like irrigation efficiency improvement project versus a wetland restoration project, they're very different, but you try to get it down to the volumetric water benefit of that project, as well as the other co-benefits, of course. But how do you track that, and how do you try to standardize across the life of a water restoration project the process so that not just one person knows it and is doing it, but everyone can start to do it the same way? So the first thing that we started with was standardizing the process for how we would collect the information from the very beginning of developing a project, assessing the project, see if it fits the criteria that has been set, all the way to estimating the volumetric benefit, and then substantiating whatever claim is coming out of that project. And so we developed three-part guidance. Thanks also in part to Blue Risk Intel who helped us kind of look at how can we standardize the process and make it relatively easy for others to pick up the guidance document and follow the steps. So that was really the first thing that we put into place so that everyone could be speaking the same language across our internal teams. Then it was really trying to figure out, well, what is the information that's coming from these different types of projects, and how can we organize it, standardize it, compile it, so that we can compare or look at these projects together, or even look at the information at a local, at like a regional level or a country level or the basin level in different ways. And so that's where our partnership with Waterplan came into place, and the customization of that platform. So we were able to figure out which fields did we need within the digital platform to capture that information and see the projects, see that information in the same way across very different types of projects and geographies. And so developing templates that would make it easy to send out to our local basin managers, to the local projects, has made it really much more efficient for us to work with those internal and external stakeholders. It's made the information that we're collecting and receiving and using to inform the future of our program more robust. It's made also allowed us to have more transparency in how we're tracking, so making sure that we have the methodology, we know what data was used, we have all the citations and assumptions for what goes in to estimate that volumetric benefit, and we could feel really confident about the final number that's being claimed, and most importantly, that volume that's being claimed and the progress against our target is actually leading to the impact on the ground that we want to see.
Perfect. And something that you didn't mention, I think, is that you are also able to assign like different role types to the different stakeholders. So you are able so someone maybe can input data, another person reviews the data, another person is the one that approves the data, right? And that way you're able to ensure
It's been really amazing to have this platform so that all of the internal stakeholders that need to see it, so subject matter experts, our legal organization, communications, they can log in, they can take a look at who's reviewed it previously, when it was reviewed, and everything is tracked. Like, you know who the last person was and when they went in to modify that data or add additional information. So we've been able to bring together both the tracking side and the review and approval side into one platform. And so we could track really easily who's seen it, all of the different reviewers, who's approved it, and then use that information to support the claim that's coming out of the restoration projects and the progress we're making.
Yeah, this is amazing. For someone that works at the global level, interacting with so many stakeholders, being able to actually trust the information you're seeing and say, this is accurate, you can see, for any auditors or something like that, this is information and I trust it, and you can, it's verifiable. So perfect. Now, Kathleen, you work with a lot of companies, right? With a lot of sustainability leaders, with many of the ones that are here with us today as well. So I'm curious, what are the best practices that you are seeing that are emerging across sectors or across companies when it comes to using AI and data for effective project sourcing and impact tracking?
Thanks, Lucy. Yeah, I mean, I grew up and kind of came into a career 20 years ago where we did a Google search or went to a library and took a lot of time and effort to put into thoughtful reports and searching, and that is very valuable and still is very valuable. But I think I see, in terms of best practices, I do see us moving a lot faster to get to that first stage, and being able to understand and gather data on the risks in the basins where folks are operating. And like Marlies mentioned this as well, like that just enables us to move faster into working with local stakeholders, truly understanding what's going on so that you can assess potential project types. Always understanding, starting with that basin challenge, like what's going on the ground, it helps us get there a lot faster. In terms of project sourcing, it's like very similar, years ago we would Google search or, call people up. Like, you can still do that, and that's, again, very valuable. But I think it just accelerates that transition from like the gathering and understanding of the basin challenges to kind of moving forward and how to address it, what to do, both inside of a facility and outside of a facility. So that's where I see things moving quickest, and like the best practices, like really accelerating transitions.
And talking about the best practices, what do you think that is missing, or where do you see the biggest opportunities for improvement in this?
Ooh, great question. I think, honestly, the challenge that really we all face is coordination. And that's like just being very honest. Like, I see a future where maybe on a Waterplan platform or somewhere, like, we're all able to really collaborate. Everyone who's involved in a project is really I'm looking at Alex from the River Stress. I do see that as a really big opportunity moving forward, where everyone is involved in, like, from the gather and understand phase, like, all the way to implementation and tracking and monitoring over time. And for me, like, on like sappy side, like, that's how we show impact in the world. That's how we're able to continue to just honestly have funding for all these great projects and see this good work continue on and really make an impact in the basin. And like, that's where I think we could really improve this on the coordination side.
Perfect. So, question for all the panelists here. How do you move from these insights, like, moving on and actually following up on what Kathleen was saying here? How do you move from these insights to actually designing interventions that truly resonate, that truly involve the local stakeholders? And if you could share an example of how you are being able to do this, like better collaborate with the other stakeholders, that would be great. In terms of implementing community-specific activities, right? That also were informed by technology, maybe. Yeah. Maybe, Andrea, you can start.
Sure, I'll focus on India as an example. So most of you would know that water-scarce country, very low water table, communities very dependent on groundwater, and it's often over-abstracted. And the recharge is very seasonal in monsoon times, etc. So over the years, not surprising, there's been many structures to recharge the aquifers being built. But very surprisingly is how they've been neglected over time. So we've been working with an organization called IIT, who specializes in finding these structures and working out how we can restore them, but using technology to prioritize the ones with the biggest impact, the biggest need in the area, and where there's a really cost-effective solution to unblock them. So much cheaper than rebuilding or building more and more is to get them back into working shape and maintaining them. And then contracting through NGOs, the local community, to actually do the work, because it's very manual labor, it's not sophisticated, to do the work in unsalting them and then maintaining them. So it's interesting for me to see this high-tech solution that ends up with a local community doing very manual work, getting income, getting water, but then also using the silt for the local farmers in terms of improving soil quality, etc. So for us, that's been a great example. So maybe the local community has no idea that AI was a big part of the project, and they don't need access to the web to be able to see. But if you look at the whole project, and if you're fortunate enough to see that, it's really powerful to see all of these elements in one project.
This is amazing. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I believe that database and transparent communication plays a vital role in building shared understanding among stakeholders, empowering them to recognize the true value of the project, its potential risks, and the effectiveness of its solutions. A compelling example of this is our initiative in Kumamoto, where data became a catalyst for collaboration. By leveraging simulation-based future projections, we are able to clearly illustrate the potential impact of land development on groundwater recharge. This evidence-based approach inspired local governments to actively support central and co-create new initiatives with us. This same principle strengthens internal decision-making. When we present business performance from our products alongside the financial impacts of water stewardship projects on a common framework, it fosters clarity and confidence in a strategic choice. Thanks to Waterplan's advisory services, we can now visualize the current and the future water-related risk at each site with precision, helping we proactively will make a decision about water restoration projects. Moreover, by demonstrating not only the volume of water replenishment, but also the degree to which a project can mitigate water risk for both the site and the surrounding community, we believe that we can unlock even greater momentum for action. These insights are instrumental in guideline meaningful decisions and driving impactful change. We are excited to be working closely with Waterplan to further enhance this approach. Together, we are exploring an innovative way to the kind of conducting our new water stewardship journey.
Perfect.
Yeah, when it comes to projects that have resonated the most with local communities, I think a lot of those were ones that we co-developed with water utilities and municipalities. They're really great partners to work with because obviously they intimately understand the past, present, and future of local water challenges and opportunities, and they often have kind of like a wish list of projects that they're hoping to implement but maybe don't have their resources to do so. So I think that's where we as corporates can kind of step in. And just to share a couple examples, in the Zaragoza, Spain region, where we operate some AWS data centers, we've supported 5 projects, and I'll share 2 of them. The first is a leak detection program with a local utility to address non-revenue water and figure out, okay, where are the exact locations of these leaks, how much water is leaking out, and trying to prioritize that. And then the second project was with the Zaragoza municipality, and that was to deploy an AI-enabled flood management platform to kind of serve as an early warning system for floods in the region, and also some on-the-ground flood management infrastructure as well. So those projects have really resonated, and we're hoping to lean into that strategy and work more so with utilities and municipalities.
So I think you've probably heard, and we could all agree, that starting with the water challenge is the first step. And in that can help to identify different types of activities or projects that would be appropriate to address that challenge. I think across the more than 30 projects now that we're supporting, there are a couple examples that we've found that where data and technology, along with that community engagement, is helping to deliver solutions against those specific challenges that were identified. 2 that come to mind. One is in Los Angeles and Phoenix. P&G supported and continues to support on-the-ground partners who are installing toilet leak detection sensors. So little sensors that are able to detect toilet leaks, which until then are really difficult to detect and are one of the largest water wasters in multifamily housing in the United States. So it was, we identified in the very beginning that demand was part of like high demand, lack of supply was a challenge in this area, and this leakage and in-home leakage and wastage was a key challenge. And so this type of solution allowed us to use technology to enable the buildings to detect and fix those leaks quickly. The sensor has an app. It feeds the data and information into the app. It pings the building manager when there is a leak, and the building manager is able to fix it faster, and that leads to water use reduction and wastage reduction, as well as financial savings. So that's one example. The other is a project that we're doing in that we're supporting in Utah in the United States. So the Bear River Canal Company, they manage over 150 kilometers of canals that actually deliver water across many, many fields. It's irrigation water. And in these canal systems in the western United States, one of the big issues is spillage. So the water, where there's too much water coming in and the gates don't open in time and it spills over and the water is lost. It's lost to the system at least. And so the project addressed that challenge of this water loss by installing telemetry controls that helped to actually send information, real-time information, to the canal managers in order to make changes to how the water was moving through the canals. Before that, it was really done by just visual inspection and kind of responding in the moment, having to drive out to the canals as fast as possible to change the way the gates were, and that was leading to huge water loss as well as a lot of lost time for those people who had to ride along the canal and make those changes. And so this technology then has allowed those real-time notifications and much more increased water efficiency, which not only allows them to deliver the water for irrigation more efficiently, but also allows there to be more water available for wildlife refuges that need it to support all of the different species that migrate through that area and call that place a home. So there are many different examples, I think more and more, where technology and data can help to identify, but the local community, they're the ones that need to actually do it on the ground and make sure that they're going to adopt those different technologies as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just touch on it as well. So I think in addition to the risk management and gathering and understanding all that information and using AI and technology to do that, I think a really big benefit that we've seen is understanding local conditions on the ground for, as Shannon was mentioning, and Marlise, producing volumetric water benefit estimates. A lot of corporations use those as a way to demonstrate impact in the basin and report internally and externally on those volumes. And so, I'm excited about being able to use technology and data sources and bringing in the AI and remote sensing to be able to understand those conditions on the ground in the absence of local data. It puts, it helps enable that local coordination and provide data, but it also serves as a way to, make some sort of estimate in the absence of any local on the ground information, so.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for all the examples that you shared. It's very exciting to see how technology in different forms, right? Different types of technologies. Maybe it's AI, maybe it's combined with sensors, maybe it's a platform, like it's a specific other technology that you are using to really implement the projects and to drive impact, right? And I think, Kathleen, something that you mentioned is related to one of the questions that we have for the Q&A section later, so we'll touch more on that. Okay, another question for everyone here. It's transparent communication is key, right? It's key for ensuring that things get done. It's key for gaining stakeholder trust. It's key for water stewardship, right? So how have digital tools improved how you are reporting outcomes and how you are engaging with the stakeholders?
Yeah, I'll start. So I think just to reiterate the points I made before, it was really going from relying on one person or on someone's desktop, all the information, needing to request that information, to having it all consolidated, standardized, organized in one platform that could be accessible at any time of the day by anyone who had the right permissions to access it. So that's really improved not only the access to the data, but also being able to see it all, to see that it's been reviewed, to see that what's been approved, what can be used, what can't be, is really helped our teams to coordinate better and to use the information in many different ways.
Yeah, I think when it comes to performance monitoring and sharing outcomes from projects, that's where satellite imagery and remote sensing is going to be really powerful. And I think it'll also be really helpful for some of the NGO partners who we work with who maybe are resource constrained at times. So for an example, I can share, we supported a project in Cape Town with the Nature Conservancy around the removal of this thirsty invasive species. And there we were able to use satellite imagery to confirm the removal of that species and then kind of evaluate the regrowth of this less thirsty native species. And that was great because TNC didn't need to put quite as many boots on the ground to confirm all of this. I mean, of course, we're still supporting regular audits and project maintenance, but it's not quite as intensive as it previously was.
From the aspect of the company, from the aspect of the company, the disclosures, the working is very hard, every day, every season. So, I mean, we have a CDP disclosure and the TNFD and TCFD integrated report, and also any of the certification work. It's very hard for us, and we need to the kind of the writing work from any of the data came from the each of the site and the projects. So it's a very complex work. So for me and for our teams, and I think that the AI has the potential to gather any of the kinds of data and any of the kinds of the monitoring the evidences to integrate for the kind of any of the questionnaire of the CDP or the TNFD and so on. So it's a new potential, I think. So maybe Waterplan will develop the kinds of the new services. Yeah, it's very exciting for us.
I think everyone struggles with the reporting. So yeah, I think everyone emphasizes with that, yeah.
Yes, multi-platform, multi-challenge reporting is tough. Yeah, I think that in terms of digital tools, like even at Waterplan, like, you know, we struggle, right? Like we have a platform that has all these amazing capabilities, but internally sometimes we have like the same issues that everyone else has here. And I think that, you know, continuing to develop technologies like platform-based technologies that enable that coordination internally and externally for reporting, for stakeholder management, whatever it might be, are really helpful moving forward. And I think it only enables our ability to do our jobs better.
I think if you listen to my colleagues here and to us, the real value so far has been on internal reporting, so better data, more systematized, coordinated, centralized, etc., and not yet externally. The fragmented reporting and the way the current reporting regulatory framework is evolving is actually going in the opposite direction in terms of transparency. So clearly regulators are more interested in understanding a common reporting approach. So to be direct, so they would much rather see us all report on aqueduct so they can understand on a common framework what does our water risk look like, rather than what is your unique water risk. And I think it's just taking us in the opposite than transparency. If you really want to understand ABI's water risk, yes, you can map against aqueduct, which is a very useful tool, but the site-specific insights are not the same. It might be red on aqueduct, and I say, no, for X, Y, Z reason, it's not so important for us. It might be green on aqueduct, and I'll say, we think there's a challenge. So if you want to understand our water risk, you need to understand and listen to how the company views it. But the way we're being encouraged to report publicly is let's use common approaches. And it doesn't help to say, well, according to this approach, it looks like this, then according to that approach, then it becomes confusing. So my sense is currently the evolving framework is not encouraging transparency, it's taking us away from that. But I'm sure over time it will evolve, and I'm sure technology will help us.
Well, thank you so much. It's very inspiring to hear all your stories. If there is something that I'm taking from all of that you're saying is that really technology and AI are an enabler, definitely not the solution, right? But they are an enabler to do our jobs better, to scale our efforts faster, and to drive more impact, right? So last question before we go to the Q&A section. And we have a lot of questions, but for the ones who haven't asked them, you can ask them here on Slido. You can go on slido.com. So what are your suggestions for a company that is starting to incorporate more technology? Like maybe they have a water risk management process in place, or maybe they don't, they are just getting started. Like what are your suggestions on how to start implementing technology to do the jobs better or faster, as we were saying? And what are maybe mistakes? What are quick wins and what are mistakes that you would say, hey, don't do this, you know? So who wants to start here?
I'll start just because I kind of just to build off of what you had said before that technology and data isn't always, I'd say. I mean, sometimes it could be a solution, but it's not always the solution. And it's not a replacement for subject matter experts and subject matter expertise. So it is really a tool. So make sure that we continue to look at it, and if you're starting out, like look at it as a tool. How can it fit? How can it help you, subject matter experts, kind of get to the work, track that work in a more efficient way? How can it help you really identify the right type of actions and activities to focus on? But it's not a replacement for expertise. It's not a replacement for community relationship building and all that. So really continue to see it as a tool, not as a replacement for the people and relationships that really make this work impactful.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think AI can be useful in maybe scaling your desktop research, and maybe, for example, your company's moving operations into a new part of the world and you want to understand, okay, really quickly, what are the key water challenges here of the past and present and maybe future? What hydro basin might you want to work in? Who are the water users in this area? What are the upstream and downstream water sources? And that can help you start painting a picture, but then it's really about having those conversations on the ground and leaning into local expertise to figure out what actions you want to take.
Yeah, as they mentioned that the AI and the technology is a tool. So we need to understand the kind of the tools, the profiles, that features to realize our purpose. So, I mean, I think that we need to understand more and more our purpose to conduct the water stewardship itself. So, I mean, for example, to understand each watershed, the business materialities is fit to the kind of the AI to gathering the data and so on. But after that, we focus on the actual site and the research, so with the local partners. So it's I think the not fit the AI tools. So that's kind of the mixes is very important for us, I think.
Yeah, I think that I agree that when we're thinking about the AI, we're thinking about how does it enable solutions, and for me, it's in thinking about like evaluating and driving that impact. And so when we're looking at irrigation efficiency projects, or we're looking at leak detection, or we're looking at AI meter reading, that for me is where I see it driving the most impact, in addition to helping us with the local data collection.
I can really just summarize, because I think my colleagues have put it well. And I would say two sound bites. The one is you can't outsource water risk assessment. Tools are really helpful. They're extremely efficient, but you need to own it and understand your own water risk, because it's not the same as the next company's. And the second one is don't be seduced by the flashing lights and the beautiful charts. You look at the wonderful video that we started with from Waterplan. I mean, isn't that amazing? There's all these charts, and they're very helpful, and each of them are real. I can attest for that. But you need to really understand what it means for you. And don't let AI be the final decision maker of what your water risk. Take that as the start. You have, I would say the one lesson that we've learned over a decade is you have to validate these insights locally. Ask your local manager, ask your local engineer, ask your local corporate affairs director, what do you think about what we've generated? And be able to adapt it. Don't just go with what the system tells you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for all your insights and experiences that you shared. We have some questions. We have a lot of questions actually from the audience. So we are going to start answering some of them. I don't think we'll have time for answering all of them, but if you are not able and you still have a question, of course, you can reach us. We will be here, right, at the conference. So the first one is AI is only as good as the data it uses. So how do you address issues of data gaps or quality in regions where monitoring systems are limited or inconsistent? And maybe this is more for Kathleen to start.
Yeah, is this for Waterplan? So yeah, it's a really good question. I will say, like at Waterplan, we're using AI to bring in local data at basins around the world to enable that like early on decision making and kind of level set the risk evaluation. What we don't do is just put out the information that comes from the AI. We have a water expert team, to Shannon's point, that evaluates and audits the results that were coming in, and then supplements that with additional data gathering. So, again, AI is a tool. It's an enablement tool. It is not the end solution. I think, and maybe I'm biased, being a subject matter expert, but I do think that will continue to be a role in local data gathering, talking to communities, understanding what's happening, doing additional, more targeted research. That still all exists. So yeah.
So I would say, similar to other sustainability reporting, like emissions reporting, you take the best that you have at the moment. So if you need to have proxy data or the closest region close to it or something similar to it, take the best that you have is the first point. The second one is be clear on what you have. So don't treat that and show that as the same level of confidence to decision makers. Say, here we don't really know, but we think. And the third one is going back to the point that I said earlier about local validation. And interesting, it was one of the toughest discussions between us and Waterplan in our relationship. Was for us the importance of local validation and being able to override the system. If the local engineer says, and clearly he or she needs to explain, but you say it's absolutely red, but I'm saying it's absolutely green on the following, they must be able to bring local insights. And clearly the whole process is designed to learn as you go along. And you're going to get better and better in getting these views aligned going forward.
Good. Okay, perfect. I have another interesting question. If one of the biggest challenges is collaboration, how much of the work to address this is AI-driven versus creating robust decision support and data management tools?
About collaboration?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good question and tough for me, but I think that AI has the potential to manage the kind of collective action in the same watershed. So I'm not sure about the future, but some the kind of the trend, the focus on the kind of same target on the watershed. So I mean, based on the SBTN, the SBTN provided the kind of the one target, the common target for the each the kind of stakeholders in the same watershed. So that is the kind of the one of future the trend, I think. So if we conduct that kind of the water management in the watershed, so we need to the kind of share the kind of the common water target in the watershed. And also we can provide any of our project progresses and monitoring data in the same dashboard. But facing the kind of the control of the each the secret. So
Like proprietary, like
yeah, no, the yes.
confidential.
Yeah, confidential account. So the technology can control the kind of confidential and the kind of the open data. Yeah, so it's the next key the kind of field of the developing and innovation that for the collective action, I think.
Yeah, I also think that, sorry, Andre. I also think that it's a great way to enter into conversations. So I prefer to be well-educated, at least, using the information that may be pulled from some of the technology and the data that's provided to go in to collaborative conversations about solutions or existing projects or things that are going on at the local level. So I think it's a great way to have an entry point into that discussion where you've come in educated. You can, add additional knowledge, of course, that local knowledge, but you're coming in with something, with a good foundation of understanding before trying to work towards that those collaborative efforts.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is not the time for pessimism or skepticism, but as someone who's worked on promoting collaboration in the water sector for 20 years, if that was my single career objective, I have failed. I remain sometimes surprised how hard it is for companies to collaborate, all of us. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone else. And over time, I've learned that every company has unique interests, budget cycles, management changes, priorities changes, relationships changes, realities change. We're actually not good at, because collaboration has to be at least medium term. It's not for this year, it's not for next year. And the bulk of the projects remains one company and one NGO. And that is just not the solution. Yes, there are now some examples of 2 or 3 companies and 1 or 2 NGOs. Never mind, NGOs find it as difficult to collaborate sometimes as we do, but all of us have a common interest in that. So we really have to break through on the company side in terms of how we approach these issues and the time frames. We do, and I don't think technology is the problem. I think Shannon is right that it might be an enabler up front if you put a very sexy analysis and say, hey, you have a shared problem here. But we have a number of examples where we have 10 multinationals in the room. We all operate in the exact same location. All 10 acknowledge that we have water risk problems. But it takes 18 to 24 months to get those companies to do the smallest project together. And these are large multinational companies. So collaboration is really hard, and I think we should face it up front rather than coat it over and say, hey, that's the magic answer.
Yes, definitely a key challenge that we haven't been able to solve, I think, but definitely interesting and important to continue thinking about it. And I think that one of the things that can also help with this collaboration is ensuring that we are all speaking the same language, right? Like with the same type of data, standardizing the information. The thing is that we still all look at things very differently. So until we solve that, we will always have at least that first problem to get through, and then start talking about what each wants to do and why, etc. Right? So definitely challenging, and yeah, we haven't solved that yet. I think we mentioned some of you. I think it was Marlies, if I'm not mistaken, or Shannon mentioned non-revenue water. There is a question here. If you could elaborate more on the tools that can be used to detect non-revenue water. And this is one of the biggest challenges in South African local government.
Yeah, of course. We're really excited about kind of leak detection and pressure management as a tool to reduce non-revenue water challenges. So the way that we've approached this so far is primarily working with technology startups who are able to deploy sensors and IoT within water distribution networks. And there, those sensors kind of can relay, okay, usually with acoustic types of technologies, okay, where exactly are these leaks? What is the volume of those leaks? And then we bring that data back to the utility and help them prioritize where they want to fix those leaks. Sometimes it's really hard to fix a leak. Maybe it requires digging up a street, but others might be easier to fix. So that's something that we're excited about. Pressure management, similarly, we can kind of detect where a system might be overpressurized and then reduce the pressure, which in turn reduces how much water is leaking out, and it doesn't require digging up any streets or anything like that. So we're really excited about those types of projects, and more broadly, we're excited about other challenges that utilities might be facing and how we can come in and help address those, like anything related to aging infrastructure or emerging contaminants. It's really a broad open space for us.
Perfect. Does anyone? Yeah.
Whoever's interested in South Africa, I'm happy to just speak to them afterwards. So we've partnered with the city of Polokwane with exactly the same issues in terms of pressure management, leak detection, but also added the billing system, because it's surprising if you analyze the billing system, who pays, who doesn't pay, what they pay, etc. So it all adds up to the non-revenue water total. So really, really important, and I think green infrastructure is important, and we need to focus on that, but there's a huge potential for companies to partner on non-revenue water. It's a really tough issue. It sounds very easy. Cities lose 40 to 50% of their water that they can't account for. Wow, that's easy to solve, right? It's really, really difficult once you get to the detail. But you have to be able to do it, because that money is not, that water is not being accounted for, therefore it's not paid for, therefore you can't reinvest in the water infrastructure and services.
Can you elaborate more on the billing system?
No. No. It is really surprising if you analyze in the billing system who pays, who doesn't pay. You find that there are large water consumers who are just not getting billed for some reason. It stopped 3 years ago and they didn't say anything. Or that they pay a tariff that is really not appropriate for them. Or there are whole communities that are excluded from the billing system. Sometimes it might be deliberate, as in there's a poor area and the municipality could decide they're going to subsidize the water, but quite often there's a meter that's not working, someone's just not printing the bills or sending them out, and of course no one comes forward to say, hey, I need to pay. So there are hundreds of different reasons, but the bottom line is there are many people who are not paying or not paying what they should be, and unless you fix that, you're not going to get the revenue to reinvest in the infrastructure.
Perfect. We have another question here, which is, and it's similar in a way to the leak detection systems that we were talking about, but a bit broader, I would say, which is, how can we use AI as an early warning detection, and if we can share an example where this is effectively used? I would say, let's go beyond leak detection.
Does anyone have any specific examples? If not, I can talk about one.
You can go, Kathleen.
Yeah, I think that meter reading is one. I mentioned it earlier. I think that is a potential way to, in places where there are meters in place, to be able to have an early warning. And a lot of those technology systems exist in many parts of the world. It's something that is tangible, and where AI can come in terms of being able to ingest information and activate an early warning system. And we're seeing that pretty regularly come up as a potential solution.
Perfect. Now we have other questions here. Let's go to the next one, which is how are you managing the cybersecurity issues regarding AI using data from so many companies? Like, what are potential cybersecurity issues that we could have?
Oh, this is for me.
Yeah.
I'm not on the product team, but I can try to answer this. I mean, one thing is in terms of like our engineering team and the kind of mechanisms that we have in place in terms of compliance. Like, we need to be, because we work with so many multinational corporations, we have to be compliant at the highest level in terms of cybersecurity. We came across that this year with many companies, so and have gone through quite easily, I might add. But we have to do that. I mean, that's just like kind of a basis for business operation for Waterplan because corporations require it. They can't enable a technology that isn't compliant with the highest level of cybersecurity.
Good. What skills or capabilities do sustainability teams need to build internally to make the most of these new tools? Who wants to take this one?
I think the sustainability skills set is evolving, and I think AI and geospatial skills are becoming increasingly important in order to be able to manage, not be the expert in the deepest technical expert, but if you don't have the expertise to manage or to scope the system, to manage and monitor and report on it, it becomes really, really hard, because then you're at the mercy of your vendor. So I would say investing in core capabilities on geospatial and AI is important for sustainability teams going forward.
Yeah, I think learning it. I personally, maybe others can, like moving from Excel and PowerPoint, like the Microsoft suite, is like you have to really, push yourself to do it. But I think marrying the skills that we have as subject matter experts and sustainability teams with at least a basic understanding of what AI is and how it could apply to making your work more efficient and robust, I think is necessary and is something that I want, because I think there is a promise of more efficiency and enabling us to do more with our time on the ground, and getting really to the impact and leaving the data, allowing the data interpretation or the data collection to be more efficient. So yes, I agree, Andre. I think we have to do that, and we're going to be really strong when we can marry the sustainability expertise with those technological advances.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the efficiencies that we might gain as like water SMEs. Maybe those efficiencies allow us to spend a little bit more time in other sustainability impact areas. Like maybe we can go a little bit deeper on the biodiversity benefits from a certain project or carbon benefits. So I'm excited about that, and hoping that we can, really look across all the co-benefits of the projects that we're assessing more closely.
Perfect. And we have another question, and I think maybe this can be the last one. And I think this is very interesting. How do you share insights on water risk with leadership teams at your companies? And how does the data that you have help you with that?
Yeah, I think every company is different. Our P&G is a company of scientists, research and development, and engineers, so they want to see proof, So I really being able to pull in the data and use the data to support the conclusions and to, convince, which often isn't very difficult when you have the information and data and the key case studies or examples. So I think bringing that information and what I love about where we're moving is it takes much less time, because I could just log in to my platform, look at all of the information, gather the insights, and then build my case and communicate with leadership using those citations, that data to support the conclusions I'm making. So it's made it much more efficient to communicate that with leadership.
Anyone else?
I would say carefully and consistently are the two principles, at least for me. So we report quarterly to our management, to our finance committee of the board, and therefore the board on water risk. So you don't want that number to change every week or every month or every quarter. Every change you want to be able to explain. So we tend to go through, although we manage water risk all the time, through annual cycles before we really update the numbers, unless there's a real reason, an urgent reason to do so, and then to manage the dynamics of, there's something here that we don't understand, let's understand it better, manage it outside the formal reporting system until you really understand it, and then you need to add it to the water risk. And also periodically to have really tough debates. And we currently have one in terms of understanding what do we report in terms of basin risk or site risk, and the difference to that. Because sometimes you have a site located in a high water risk basin, but actually the site, for whatever reason, it might have a separate infrastructure, or it might have its own boreholes, etc., is not directly affected by the watershed. So how do we report it? Because the one argument is if you don't report it because it's only the site, then you don't understand the dynamics of what's happening around you. Just because you have water today and the community doesn't, you're going to feel the pressure soon. Or the other way around, as in you say, hey, this is high risk, but there's never any disruption, there's never any price changes. How does that relate? So it's really important that you get to a shared understanding with your leadership. What is it that we are reporting, not just the numbers?
Perfect. Well, I think that's it. Okay, thank you everyone so much for being with us here today. I hope that you enjoyed the session. Maybe we can close with some closing remarks from the panelists, and then we will share the video again that I know that some of you weren't able to see, and we'll close with that. Sounds good? Shannon, maybe you can start.
Sure. I think just reflecting through this session, like over the last couple of years, how quickly we've been able to move from our old way of doing things and collecting information to the new way. I'm just really excited about now how much more time we have to spend on the actual on-the-ground action and thinking ahead on, okay, well, what's coming next? And so I'm just grateful for the tools that have enabled that and look forward to seeing what's coming next.
Likewise, yeah, I don't think we can predict the future in terms of how AI is going to help us or enable quicker insights, but I'm really hopeful that we can just continue experimenting, like testing out all sorts of things, Kathleen, with you on performance monitoring or assessment calculations. That's been really exciting, and we will continue to do that.
Yeah. They mentioned that the AI gave us the kinds of the efficiency, the time efficiency, and also the new experiences to conduct our water sensitive journey. So, yeah, we'd like to get any of the more experiences from the technologies. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm back to like the point of enablement. I'm really excited about just the enablement that AI brings to be able to track and monitor progress over time. I think that only continues to feed the feedback loop of making measurable and transparent progress.
Yeah, 10 years ago, corporate water risk management was a really complex and intense process, and you needed to invest a lot to get to an understanding. Partly excited, but partly jealous that today it's so easy to do it, and it's really amazing how it's democratized. AI and other technologies has democratized water risk understanding. It's wonderful, but remember, don't be seduced by the flashing dials.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone so much. It has been a pleasure to be here with you today. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day and week at World Water Week. And yes, if you have any other questions, of course, you can reach out to us. We'll be here. So thank you so much. We will now finish with the video. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Water has become a pressing business risk, stopping production, disrupting supply chains, and putting entire communities at risk. Yet for sustainability leaders, fragmented and complex water data makes mitigation slow, difficult, and resource-intensive. This is where AI comes in, transforming the way organizations measure, respond to, and report water risk. For the first time, companies can see the full picture end-to-end and act at the speed the world demands. With AI, high-quality local data is centralized, validated, and standardized across operations and supply chains. From risk assessments and ongoing monitoring to scenario modeling that identifies the right mitigation initiatives, AI turns complexity into clarity, enabling faster, smarter decisions. It also facilitates tracking and reporting progress against efficiency and restoration targets, turning what once took weeks or months into minutes. AI is redefining water stewardship. Join Waterplan and global leaders as we scale impact and accelerate the transition to a water-secure future for businesses, for communities, and for our planet.